Well, we're really excited to be talking with Jon Bennion today, who has put together a great project that I would say is practicing pluralism in Montana. Thanks for taking some time to speak with us, Jon. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Of course. So let's start. You created and organized this event around literal sausage making for incoming Montana legislators, again, from both the right and the left. Uh, Tell us a little bit about this, what you hope to accomplish, and why sausage making.
Well, if you go to the Montana legislature, and even if you go to Congress or probably a lot of other legislators, it's a expression that you hear all the time. You never want to see two things being made, laws and sausage. And in 25 years of being around the legislative process, I have definitely seen some bad sausage being made either in Congress or in legislatures. But I have a background, some ancestry on the German side where we have a tradition of making sausage. I have fond memories of making sausage. And so I see that being done well. And in my experience, I've also seen great legislation, great compromises, great governing happening. And so I wanted to flip that expression on its head and say, hey, there's a great way to make sausage and there's a great way to do legislating. And so by bringing those two things together, I really felt like it could be an experience that people would share, build relationships, build good communication. And that was the hope behind the whole thing.
I love it. That's a great idea, and I'm glad that you did it. What, if you could, maybe walk us through a little bit what exactly happens during the events that you put on with the legislatures and the sausage making?
So I've done it 4 times now. And over time, what I've realized is that this could be a very beneficial experience for new legislators, people that don't have that experience. They haven't been in the trenches as much. So I invite every single freshman. And I also invite a few veterans, people who have been a part of this event in the past. And so what we do at the outset is I lay some ground rules. One of the rules is we're not here to talk about your bill. We're not here to talk about policy. We're here to make tasty sausage. And that's the goal here today. And so in doing that, we kind of talk a little bit, though, about some similarities in the sausage making process and similarities in legislating. And I give them best practices. Then there's 14 main rules that I go over. And then we just dive in. We've got meat that needs to be cubed. It needs to be ground. It needs to be seasoned. We do a taste test, and then all gets cased. And the fun thing is that people get to take a little bit back with them. And I should note that we do this the day before the legislature starts. So it's before bullets have been flying, before they're in the trenches. This is really an opportunity, especially for the freshmen, to meet colleagues of theirs that they may not be able to spend a lot of time with just because things get so busy.
Food makes everything better, so it's great to hear that you're doing this.
I agree.
So I know that you're an alum of our Presidential Leader Scholars program that the Bush Institute does with some other presidential libraries and centers. Would you talk a little bit about your experiences in terms of how that program maybe inspired some of this, given how it tries to build consensus across divides and focuses on things like bridge building? How did that play a role in what you're doing now?
Sure. Yeah, there was definite inspiration there. When you start the PLS program, as I did in 2018, there's people from all states, backgrounds, professional backgrounds, and you really don't know each other. And before you've had an opportunity to really size each other up and all of that, they throw you into this cooking competition at one of the first day or two as a part of the experience. And so here you are uh, trying to cook something with people who are strangers, and it has like this focus where you're all working towards one thing, and it's not political, it's not anything else other than you're trying to make a tasty dish. And that was actually a big part of the inspiration behind this sausage making event, where if you put people in a room and you just say, hey, look, the only thing that you're supposed to do is this one thing, make this meal, make this sausage. It really provides a bonding experience that you wouldn't really expect. And so that was a huge part of the inspiration behind the sausage making event here in Montana.
And I appreciate you sharing that. And it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a lot of positive things that I know we here at the Bush Institute support. At the same time, we live in a moment where I think a lot of folks and across the political spectrum, they seem to think that these types of things, that the practicing of civility, of pluralism, of respectful disagreement, and even dialogue, they're kind of quaint notions that no longer fit today's politics. And you clearly don't see it that way. I'm curious, why is that?
No, I do recognize that. I think things have changed, that over the 25 years that things have gotten, I think, a little bit more nasty. Not to say that they were all, amazing, 25 years ago when I started, but I have seen very great examples, recent examples where people realize that governing is not giving a speech. It's not getting on Twitter and coming up with the thing that's going to catch the media's attention. It really is about building relationships of trust with people that you don't necessarily agree with on everything, but you share some common values. And I those are the people that are really effective. Those are the people that are keeping the trains on the tracks, whether it's here in Montana, whether it's at the national level. And I really respect those people because it takes work. It takes uh, doing a risky thing in this political environment to reach across and get to know people who aren't exactly like you.
No, I think that's a great point. That this is hard work, but there's a really high reward to it, and it's necessary for the work of government. I'm curious, as you think about this project and hopefully going to be continuing it, if you had to choose one thing about the sausage making event, what's the secret sauce for making it a successful project, and how do you know that?
I think finding at least a few people that kind of match the vision of what you're trying to accomplish here. So surround yourself with a couple of people that can help you facilitate this, that get it, and then build from there. Like I said, I'm bringing in freshmen, people that may not know a lot about the process, may not know a lot of the other people. And so it does take a little bit of a leap of faith for some of those people to uh, build a relationship, to say, hey, I'm going to show up to this event where I hardly know anybody. And this guy that I've never met maybe is saying we're going to make sausage. That's, uh, it's something that I think that's a part of the secret ingredient, I think, for the event.
And I'm hopeful, and I imagine there will be folks who see this conversation, who see what you're doing in Montana, and might want to replicate it wherever they may live. What advice would you give those who want to do that, and what are the concrete steps that they should be taking?
Yeah, I think number one, reach out to me. I started this back in 2019 after my PLS experience, and one of the things that I did is I didn't start big. I started kind of small, and like I said, I found a few people who would get it, and had that as kind of the main team, and then we did some small outreach to people, again, freshmen, some other people that may not have been a part of the process a long time. And so I think starting small, but then being consistent in, like I said, at the start of every session, the day before the session, I'm doing this. And it just becomes a fun tradition, I think. So as people are newly elected coming into, whether it's city council, the state legislature, a county commission, whatever, I think it's a really good team building experience that if you start small, then you can scale it and grow it in future years.
And that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that advice with those who might want to replicate this project elsewhere. And why wouldn't they? As you said, it's food, it's bonding. There's a lot to love. Jon, the last thing I would ask you is just basically, because we tend to ask this to folks that we talk about, how would you define the idea of pluralism in any way that you see it?
Yeah, I think I go back to fifth grade government class where we learned the motto of the United States, "E pluribus unum," and that was just something that really stuck with me even back then. Where it's just like we're not saying we're all the same, you know. And that is a part of the American identity, is that we have so many differences, and yet out of all of those differences, there can be unity. And so whether it's referring to the states themselves, political parties, people, personalities, whatever, I think recognizing that we're all different, it's okay, but having that shared love of the Constitution, love of democracy and freedom, and believing that America can still be a beacon of hope in the rest of the world for a lot of those ideals. Those are so many things that I really think are a positive part of the pluralistic experience in America.
Jon Bennion, thank you for what you're doing. Keep it up, and keep us posted on how things go.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you.